Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 9 of the Actors Arsenal Move from Fear to Fuck It 14-day mini course. I'm Hillary Ward, and I want to start out by addressing another question. So here's a question I got from one of the people joining the course. It says, supporting myself and pursuing acting has been such a battle year after year. Do you have any job do's or don'ts for pursuing acting? Anything we should aspire to or avoid? I have guilt and anxiety about applying to jobs. Ooh, okay. So I'm sure this is something that we can all relate to. It's always tricky finding a way to pay our bills, make sure that we are taking care of our responsibilities, and having the freedom to pursue our acting career to the degree that we would like to. So first of all, I just have a lot of compassion for everyone who is struggling with that. And it's just the nature of the beast with the kind of business that we're in, that we have ebbs and flows. Some years we're going to make a lot of money. Sometimes things are going to slow down. And so first and foremost, the thing that I always recommend to actors is to put together a budget. Really put together a budget. There are some great online tools for that. One is youneedabudget.com. Now this one does charge a fee, but what it does is it puts you in a position that if you follow the guidelines that it sets out, you're actually paying for next month's bills with last month's money. So it always puts you a month ahead. It takes a little while to work up to it, but I think it's a really, really useful tool. And you get, I believe the first 30 days free, so you can try it out. And the other thing is, I think a lot of the reason that people feel a lot of anxiety around pursuing their day jobs and their acting careers, or maybe applying for a new day job when they're pursuing an acting career, is because they feel like they have to hide the fact that they're an actor. And so that dishonesty, really, that you're going into the interview with in the first place, it's always going to put you in a position where you feel anxious, because the people that you are potentially going to work for, they don't understand everything that you're dealing with. I always talk to my clients about agreements versus expectations. Okay, so when we go into any sort of situation where we're working with somebody else, we're dealing with expectations and agreements. So maybe the person that's hiring you has an expectation that you're going to be available for every single shift whenever they ask for you. That they have an expectation that this is the only job that you are working. And they have an expectation that you're going to always be able to show up. There's never going to be anything in conflict. Okay, so that's their expectation. But you secretly haven't agreed to that, right? Because you haven't told them the whole story. You haven't told them, you know what? I will do my best to be here for every single shift, but pursuing my acting career is a priority. So from time to time, I'm going to need to have an hour away from this temp job so I can go to an audition. Whatever it is, I find that when you go in very clearly stating what your expectations are and finding out what the expectations are of the person that you are in communication with, then you can actually come to an agreement. So there's no some sort of anxiety or wondering or hiding when it comes a time where you can't be available every single moment of that job. So if you are pursuing any new job and you're also pursuing an acting career, please let the people know when you are interviewing that pursuing your career is a priority. The other thing I would say is please do your best to find work that is flexible, okay? Most of the time, auditions, particularly for television, aren't going to happen much later than 6 p.m. So if you have a restaurant job, You might be up late after your shift working on an audition for the next day, but it's not necessarily going to interfere. Other ideas is, you know, you can assist somebody who's in the business so they understand the short-term notice that we get. I did a lot of jobs that I could control my own schedule, such as tutoring. You can also, I know catering is a really great way to support yourself because, again, you can control your schedule. You can control which gigs you take or you don't take. Babysitting, another job that pays well and usually is going to have you busy in the evening. If you have young kids that you're babysitting, most of the time they're going to be in bed by 8. So that would still give you time in the evenings to work on an audition for the next day. So I would always encourage you, though, to start with honesty. Start with, this is my intention. This job is to support me as I am trying to pursue a career in acting. And the other thing I would make sure that I had in place was a budget. So as soon as humanly possible, I would be able to step away from that day job and put all of my effort into pursuing acting. So I hope that that helps. Yesterday, we talked about the power of self-knowledge. So I hope that you guys had a good time writing those breakdowns for yourself, and that they were helpful to you as you were thinking about which shows to target, what kind of language to use with your reps, or if you are trying to find reps, how to pitch yourself in meetings and let them know the kinds of things that you might be right for. Also, hi, Carolyn. Also, how to let them know, how to let your photographers know what kind of photos that you need. So today, what I want to talk about is the power of no, all right? My guess is some of you are afraid to say no. Maybe afraid to say no to auditions. Maybe you are afraid to say no to low paying or no pay jobs. And my guess is because there is a risk of disappointing someone else, or feeling judged for standing up for yourself, for expecting to be paid, or expecting to have the opportunity for a job that you can really, really get behind. So I understand this, and that's why I'm bringing it up. A few years ago, I was given an audition for a network show that was in its first season, and the audition was for a co-star, like a 2 or 3 line co-star, which at that point in my career, I had really told myself that I wasn't going to do co-stars anymore. I had a lot of co-stars on my resume. I had been able to move into recurrings and guest stars, and I wanted to keep that momentum going. So I told my reps, I don't want to do co-stars anymore. Well, unfortunately, my rep at the time, he went ahead and he accepted this appointment for me. And when I communicated with him that I didn't feel comfortable going in, I didn't want this casting director to think of me that way, he really urged me to go in anyway, because he thought, you know what, this person has very long memory, and if you don't go in, they're going to be upset. So, despite my reservations, I went in for the audition, and wouldn't you know, I booked it. So, I booked a job that I wasn't really very excited about, and to really add insult to injury, my rep at the time would not insist that they meet my quote. So I had been making a minimum of a certain amount a day, and this production would not pay my quote. So I got to set to do the job, and I felt really crappy. I felt like I had sold myself out. I was on a production that didn't value my work enough to give me the rate I felt that I deserved. It was for a role that had no name, had no function really, except to kind of forward the exposition. And I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I felt really bad. And I went to my trailer and I cried. And I'm glad that happened because it was a good lesson to me. And it made me realize I could never do that again. I could never do that again. Even though maybe somebody would have been disappointed or they maybe wouldn't have understood my reasons, I never wanted to put myself in a position again that I felt bad about something that I was doing in my work or had broken a promise to myself. And so I want you to think about what your boundaries are and to understand that boundaries are not the rejection of other people. They are not aggression towards other people. What boundaries are really is self-love. Boundaries teach other people how to treat us. Okay, let me say that again. Your boundaries teach other people how to treat you. Okay? And if nobody, you can't expect anybody else to respect your boundaries if you don't respect them yourself, first of all. So your assignment for today is I want you to identify your no's. What are those boundaries? What are those lines that you don't want to cross and you expect the people who are working with you to support you on? All right? Because now I really understand mine. And I'm so fortunate that I have a team that if I pass on an audition for any reason, they say, absolutely, we understand. We would never ask you to do something that you don't want to do. But I had to go through this experience first in order to get there. And I want to save you guys all the pain of going through that. So assignment today, identify your no's. All right? So remember, this class will be available for replay through midnight tonight. If you have any more questions, please message me on the Badass Actors, Writers, and Dreamers page, or you can always email us back through Mad Mimi. I hope that you are having a great day. I hope that you are feeling empowered, and I encourage you to really think about those ways that you can show self-love to yourself and set those boundaries for yourself. All right, thank you so much. I will see you here tomorrow.